The Pocketnow Weekly is brought to you by the National Security Agency. Are you worried by the next big cyber attack? The National Security Agency plays a big role in protecting us from foreign cyber operations, and you can help. If you work in computer science, networking, programming, or electrical engineering, learn more about careers at the National Security Agency today. Visit intelligencecareers.gov/NSA. That's intelligencecareers.gov/NSA.
Now on
Oh my God, we're back again.
why there's lipstick on this.
Brothers, sisters, everybody say. Yeah. Gonna bring the flavor, tell you how. Got a question for you. Better answer now.
Am I original?
Yeah.
Am I the only one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well, hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 328 of the Weekly, brought to you by Pocketnow and XDA developers.
Brought to you by the...
Recorded on Thursday, the 18th of October, 2018, from Huawei to a little bit of Porsche, but really Huawei. Yeah, that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm your moderator. In this case, I got 4 people surrounding me.
Counts as a panel.
2 and 2. We got a panel here. Two and two people flanking me. It's Joshua Vergara. What's going on, everybody? And on my right, your left, we have, first of all, David Imel, of course known as Android Authority. David Cogen over here, the unlocker. That doesn't unlock anything. And Jaime Rivera over
You'd
here,
be
of course.
shocked.
And of course we have, well, sitting on the floor today is Michael Fisher, the Mr. Mobile himself.
Always
Creator
happy
of
to
the-
flank you, no matter where I'm sitting.
Whatever side you need, baby.
Someone say what time it is right now.
It is 2:17 a.m.
2:17 in the morning.
It's
Here
2:17.
in London town.
London time. We've got ketchup, mustard, and a glass of old wine here.
Ketchup, mustard. Oh, yeah. I see
Don't
that.
forget the well-named brown sauce, which I am first taking a look at. Yeah, it's just brown
How
sauce.
brown is that?
Brown sauce.
Yeah, brown sauce. No, that's
Yeah,
right.
by
How
Wilkin
green
and
was
Sons.
my valley.
They were like, we need good branding. What should we call this?
Brown.
Brown sauce. All right.
It's brown.
So we have been here in London for a number of days, mainly because of the Huawei and, of course, the Huawei, and the Huawei Mate 20 Pro. But it's not the only one that we saw, right?
Ooh.
So we're going to get into the Huawei Mate 20 Pro, which is the one I believe all of us are holding in one way or another. We did also get Huawei Mate 20s as well, so we're going to do some content between the two. But there's way more.
Two more.
Well, way more in a way. It's a lot more work.
Oh, Huawei more, yeah.
Way more. Yes.
way more.
So
Way more.
what else happened at this event, which happened in the middle of central London? It was a madhouse. Let's go ahead and talk about all of that stuff. So Huawei Mate 20, Huawei Mate 20 Pro. What came next? What do you want to start with?
I think they made us wait till the very end for the big surprise, right? So the next thing we got in the sequence was the
Physically
old
big
wearable.
Yes.
surprise.
Yeah.
Oh.
Right?
Oh.
Oh, wait, Huawei Watch GT? Is that what you want to talk about?
Either one, and whatever you want to start off with.
Yeah.
This is all in the same segment for this part.
You mean the Wear OS?
Not a Wear OS.
Not internally, but visually, it's like.
I mean, yeah, it looks like a Wear OS
it looks
smartwatch.
like Wear
right?
OS so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I feel like I may not be alone in this, but every year that Huawei announces a new smartwatch, I expect them to revisit the success of the first generation one, which
That
was
is my favorite watch.
which they brought a Swiss
That is
designer
my
in to
favorite
co-design.
watch.
And every year it seems like we kind of get a rehashed Huawei Watch 2, Huawei Watch 2 Classic, whatever. It's a very familiar body, but it's the most interesting thing about it. It's not running Wear OS.
Yeah.
Okay, so my question in that case is like, we have a brand new OS. What they call it?
Flight OS.
Flight OS.
No, Light OS.
Light
Light
OS.
yeah.
Light Flow OS. And is this signifying we have Tizen? Obviously, we have other operating systems in the wearable space, ones that might be proprietary to those wearables like Fitbit and whatnot. Is Wear OS in trouble if Huawei has abandoned it for this year's wearable?
Well, just think about this. I mean, how many processors from Qualcomm are being used by Huawei right now? Zero. And so the 3100, which is the processor that we are waiting for, which just launched today on the Mont Blanc. No,
today?
2 days ago. 2 days ago,
Okay.
launched on the Mont Blanc, is the first 3100 processor. The processor that whatever they created, which they provided no details on, is exactly the same thing, only made by Huawei. but obviously because there's like this sort of partnership with Google where this 3100 is exclusive to Wear OS, it seems that they pulled weight or something where it seems for them to adopt Wear OS, they had to adopt a Qualcomm processor, and I guess they didn't. That seems to be it.
I don't know. I can't speak to the strategic element of it, but I was surprised to see another company trying to develop a new smartwatch platform from scratch.
Which is DOA. I think it's DOA.
I think it looked decent.
Yeah, I think it's unwise to count out a company like as big as Huawei at this point for it, because Samsung has been pushing on with Tizen for forever, and even though it doesn't really have an ecosystem comparable to Wear OS at this point,
it's
they still
what?
do it every single year, and they still sell them every single year.
Sure.
So like, and given that they're targeting this thing at apparently fitness folks, I don't know. It may have a chance. I have to say that personally speaking, it was on the floor for 3 different meetings or events, and I walked right past it to get to the phones. So that's where I'm coming from. I'll cover it when I can.
I tried it a little bit. And
Yeah, did you?
Yeah, so I like the watch because
No, the watch is really good looking. The screen is gorgeous.
super thin.
It's just wow. I really hope that what we saw at the event is not the final thing because the software was clunky AF.
You used it for a bit?
I tried it out at the first pre-briefing we had in New York, and it seemed pretty good. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. It for a first attempt. For a first event,
You didn't see some of those choppy animations that were happening,
not the
and
New
like
York
the touch
one.
latency that was happening on the screen and all that. Okay,
For what it's worth, that can always be corrected before release. It doesn't
totally,
always
yeah.
get, but
I
At
was
least
absolutely gonna make
the
that point
way
as well.
that they implemented the UI seemed decent though, and like for a first generation like OS,
That's a good
pretty
point.
decent.
That's a very good point, David.
But this is also a contained entity, right? So we're not really expecting it to have all of this app developer support right out the box.
Yeah.
You're gonna have basically Huawei Fit, Huawei Health,
Yeah.
what do they call it? Huawei Health on a watch.
I mean, this is. I think at this point, everyone is seeing the success of the Apple Watch and thinking proprietary.
Not only that, I mean, if you think about it from the business model of China, like in China alone, because they own their own app store
Yeah.
in
Right.
China, they can pull their weight there.
Yeah.
yeah.
There, that product makes sense.
I was gonna
so
make
it gets WeChat.
And WeChat.
Yeah.
And also
Yeah.
WeChat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I was going to make the point that, like, yeah, we're looking at this from a Western perspective.
Yes.
and it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It's pretty clearly not
necessarily
really
their
meant for
market,
us.
right,
Yeah.
So this watch has beauty modes. And
It smooths your wrist.
I do honestly think that the watch looks perfectly fine, and I just remember getting really excited when I knew that that a watch was going to be at that pre-brief, and then when I turned it on, I was like, "What am I looking at here?" You know, and I'm not going to poo-poo it much because obviously it's a first generation product, it's a first generation OS. I would be excited to see what it can bring to the table, but Huawei has always been one of the darlings of the watch world. I mean, even I remember when we were looking at the Huawei Watch 2, we weren't fully convinced until it took us maybe a week or two of wearing it every single day to realize we really liked it.
Is that true?
I remember
That
that.
may be 50% true. I had never liked that series. I
You
thought it
liked
was a
the-
giant waste of time.
It was
You- but
the
you
battery
loved
life
one.
on
No,
that
you
was
loved
fine.
but the first gen. And
The first gen was
I
great.
loved
Gen was
because,
amazing.
again,
Only
they
one I
took
cared
the time to
about. I
craft a
remember-
real piece of work.
I remember
Up to the point where I still
Yeah.
see people
The
using
Moto
it.
360 and the Huawei Watch 1 are the 2 still best watches ever.
Best looking watches ever. Good point.
Period.
Yes.
we got used to the looks. We had this on the Android Authority podcast when I had you on.
Definitely not.
You had gotten more used to the design. I remember this.
How many
you
glasses
said you
of wine
weren't
later?
totally
No.
into it. You weren't totally into it, but you couldn't take it off because the battery life was actually not too bad.
Speaking of, you just said about that Huawei Watch 2.
That Huawei Watch 2.
Dose, yes.
You ever seen anything so stylish?
Not really. Okay, I'm
Pick
not
this
gonna
up
say
at
that
the
it's-
Rite Aid on the way over here.
I said this in my video that it's the strap that really makes me not like that watch. Like
Yeah.
it just feels like not $349.
Word up.
Yeah.
The strap is what gave me the impression of a drugstore Timex, which I called it in my hands-on.
I did say Timex too. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you combine it with like how you like that ultra thickness. I have to be honest, I do feel bad kind of dumping on this watch so much because this watch, listen, we don't have the classic, which is arguably the better looking one, which still looks like an LG watch Urbane.
Urbane. Yeah.
But here's the problem. Huawei set itself up, I think, for failure here by creating arguably the best looking first generation Android Wear watch, right?
Everyone's saying that. Yeah, I agree.
And obviously that design partnership did not extend to this device. And the upsides of this are that the screen is bright and awesomely OLED and stuff, and it runs Android Wear 2.0 really well. But it's an expensive missed opportunity on every other.
You know how I
metric.
feel about taps and swipes. Like I like no rotating crown, no rotating dial. Like it's just
unbelievable.
yeah.
Very, very surprising.
And
from a company that doesn't do a lot of missteps anymore.
You are that may be. I may have been wearing it for the duration of that MWC.
Or drunk-
I guarantee you, I took
or
it home
drunk
before the
during
plane
that
flight
duration.
home, and like I just did not want to. No, I always thought that design was really rather poor, and when just wasn't. It was very clear that
was
not much
bad.
effort, not as much effort had been
It was
expended.
bad.
To design.
That and they
Even the
totally
classic,
pivoted.
even the classic, I am shocked that my review of the classic did so well because I'm like, there's plastic with a Huawei name on the sides of this watch.
Yeah.
Like, what was on their mind?
It was such a radical change because the first gen was so classy.
So beautiful. I mean, Michael sent it to me all beat up and everything, but it was a
And
beautiful
the fact that the
watch.
default watch 2, the fact that the default watch 2 was like a fitness watch was just like you went the complete opposite direction. Just
Okay,
didn't-
fair enough. I never said you loved it.
I didn't even like it.
Oh, wow. Okay, fair enough.
Don't make no mistakes.
Well, I do. I am the eternal optimist of tech in some ways.
And you know what? I appreciate that.
Well, I try my best. It can be hard sometimes. Like, for example, blowing up an entire phone in order to throw shade at Nintendo.
No. But like for me, that's a tall order.
Yeah. Immediately
Is that where you wanna
when I
go?
saw immediately when I saw the Mate 20 Pro, Mate 20X rather, the Huawei Mate 20X appear on there, and right next
Which
to
we were
it,
not briefed that, by the way.
exactly.
Not at all.
We were not briefed on that phone.
Yeah,
I mean,
And right next to it was the Nintendo Switch. My first thought, I think I said it out loud. David Lum was right next to me, and he was like,
next to you too.
"Oh, there you go." It was Dave. It was David and David. A lot of Davids on the
I was
strip.
behind you.
You were surrounded by
Flanked by David.
Flanked by David.
That is such a Spaceball scene.
I straight up just like
surrounded
looked at
by-
the screen, and I was like, "Can I play Mega Man 11 on your phone, Huawei?" No.
But that's the difference, right? It's the specs is not what makes the Nintendo Switch great. It's the IP that they own.
It is
Yeah.
the IP.
Right? It's all the Nintendo games, the nostalgia, it's
Yes.
all that other stuff. It's not
Yes.
like they're like we have a 1080p screen, they have a 720. I'm like, but Zelda.
Yes. But
Like,
how?
but Mega Man,
no,
like, no.
wait. But how, do you own a Nintendo Switch?
I do.
So have you noticed that it's so packed with indie games and like games that you'll see on iOS? It's like really loaded with that. And then every now and
Yeah.
then there's a really good compelling game that'll launch.
yeah, I was
Don't
gonna
get
say,
me
I don't
wrong.
think I've ever-
All
Don't
the
get
first
me
party
wrong.
IP is
I've
good.
only played the games that I know like Nintendo owns the IP.
Don't get me wrong. The Nintendo
Mario
Switch
something
the Nintendo Switch continues to be probably my favorite gadget of
Same.
last year and this year.
Same.
Still today.
The IP
But-
makes a lot of sense, and mobile. But the thing is, mobile gaming, especially on Android and iOS, have gotten so great over the last year.
Great is the word, really?
Compared to before it.
Compared to before, it's
I
been
have
good.
never
Yeah,
played
compared to
mobile.
before, there
Yeah.
are a lot of great titles that are coming out. Nintendo is actually investing in mobile, and there are some pretty great games that are coming out these days. Nothing close to the Switch, though.
So here's the thing. For me, when I saw the presentation, if you saw my tweets on the Pocketnow account, I'm like, what? Why? Because, first of all, yes, the Nintendo Switch may be a great gaming platform, but it's a terrible gaming product.
Sure.
From a mobile perspective, it's clunky AF. The screen is not bad.
It's not terrible.
agree
It has
it's
room
plastic.
for improvement, but it's not terrible.
The hardware could be better.
It does the job really well, and I see them everywhere, and I ask about them everywhere, and everyone says that.
Have you ever owned? Have
It's
you
my
ever?
favorite.
It's my favorite gaming device.
Have
So
you-
tell
have
me
you-
something. If the Nintendo Switch looked like the Huawei Mate 20X, what would you think?
I'd be all about it.
Exactly. So that's the thing. I'm not saying that
You're blending two worlds together, though. Have you ever owned a PS4, a PS3, an
Yes.
Xbox? Those are the devices that focus on specs to get the highest possible output. The Nintendo focuses on fun
And mobility.
and mobility.
Which is
Mobile
why it's great.
games.
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
play
Which is
game-
why it's
I can't-
great.
I don't
Yes.
sit
I
still
agree.
long enough to play
Mobile
games.
games
The Nintendo
are
Switch is
not-
the best gaming device because I play it on
Right.
planes and wherever else.
Yes, mobile games are not that level of fun.
So, but what I guess
Word.
I guess what I'm trying to say is this Mate 20X is literally what the Nintendo Switch should be.
But it can't be.
No. I can already
But would never be.
I can debunk that immediately. The tactile feedback of the controls on there is on the left side, and you still rely on the screen for the right side.
Right. Which, if you have ever used a Raspberry Pi, you know why that's a bad idea.
Wait, it doesn't have a right controller?
It's only a left
Oh,
thing.
never mind.
It's
I'm sorry. I
ruined.
apologize.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Have you tried the Motorola controller for the Moto?
That's better.
Those
No.
are pretty. Those
The
are
Vice
awesome.
Grip.
That's better.
Those
Practically.
are awesome. They have
Because
like
it looks.
Wait, no. I can't wait to try the controller for this.
yeah. Once that comes out, that'll be sick.
And that'll be like but that'll be even like an Xbox.
Oh yeah, that's like an Xbox
Q Jules
controller.
popping in with
Yeah, that's
a
completely
Jaime is
different.
holding up the Razer phone
Yes.
too. For our
Forget
audio
about our
listeners.
audio listeners. Yes,
Should only
there's still
listen to
certain
this
habits that I need to pick up from Michael when hosting the show.
It's cool, buddy. I'm just here to complain about the camera being there.
Yeah, exactly.
No, so for me to care about mobile gaming, I need two things, which the Nintendo Switch nails. It's games where you don't see, like, if I'm playing a first person shooter, I don't want the soldier that I'm shooting to run in a weird direction. Which
You want to like walk in the wall?
exactly that that's the first thing I need.
Get
and
better at the game.
Well, the controls are not. Whatever.
F you. And the
User that is wrong.
and the second would be tactile controllers.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
That
That's
for
what I
me is the key. And so if Razer can create a controller that's like if it can be like the W1 chip on the AirPods where you can immediately quickly connect to it and it just somehow magically connects to games and you don't have to be setting up keys and crap like that, that would be me.
Yes, all that shit crap. Yes.
Exactly.
They went with shit crap.
Yes.
I wouldn't.
I think,
Totally.
Oh, wait. Oh, sorry, good.
Oh,
Very good. You first.
I think Razer's issue is that isn't the controller they announced basically just an Xbox controller with like
It looks
a
like
With
a
a
Moga.
clamp. With a
It looks
clamp.
like a Moga.
With a clamp.
I
yes.
just don't.
That's what I don't like about it.
I don't
want
like
it to be on
that.
the side. I want it to be a Switch.
Well,
Yeah.
you
Because
kind
I
of
like
want
the
it to be
Switch.
like
The
the
Motorola
Asus
one
ROG
is
phone.
awesome. The Motorola
No,
one
I haven't
is
seen the
awesome.
controller for the ROG.
The ROG,
It's
the ROG
another
accessory
company called
package is
Game
totally
Vice who have actually sued Nintendo for taking what they thought was their patent for the side-by-side controller. So yeah, Game Vice is having a little bit of trouble actually developing as many controllers as possible for all these phones that we all love. So there's a little bit of problem with that, but I agree with you. There should be a side-by-side controller because it makes it a lot easier.
And there's still no IP.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's
That's
what
the
I keep
problem
coming
too,
back to.
yeah.
Like, I would love physical controls.
Huawei
That-
Studios.
no.
Yeah,
No,
go ahead.
Huawei Studios is
No,
called
I'm just
10.
saying- I'm just saying
Huawei Studios is
first
called
party
Tencent.
IP is
Oh,
what
I
I'm
see.
saying.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
Tencent. Yeah.
But like, they don't have the nostalgia that like Nintendo
Right.
has that they
Yeah,
live off of. That
but-
they make a lot of money.
They live
But
off of guys
I still
like
think
me.
that if Super Mario Odyssey was made today and Mario didn't exist, that would still be an incredible game.
Mario
Yeah, I
Odyssey?
agree.
Yeah.
is the
It
best
doesn't
game
trade.
of all time.
It doesn't trade too much on nostalgia, but it does. It relies on it to a degree.
lot.
Here's the
The game
thing,
was
though. Like
super easy.
the more we talk about
It was boring.
physical controls
It was
being
great
attached to
because it was
smartphones, the
Mario.
more I remember that, like, yeah, mobile games. I'm just not there for them, and maybe I'm alone in this, and this is weird.
No, you're not alone.
But if I attach a physical controller to a smartphone, yeah, I'm going to use it to load some ROMs that
Yeah.
You
are
let me
from
play
1985.
Nintendo.
Yeah,
Which
So
I have them
already
all,
the
by the
Switch
way.
for that.
I have a full library of every single Super Nintendo game ever.
Would you like? I would like some of them. Would you like to distribute them to me across
Google
state
Drive,
lines?
my friend. Google Drive. They're all on my Google Drive.
This episode of the Pocketnow Weekly is brought to you by the anti-piracy warning.
You wouldn't steal a car.
You wouldn't download a car.
Don't copy that floppy.
I bought
the
these
cartridges,
legally.
All of them, he's made backups, which you're allowed to do. He's not going to give them to Fisher because
No,
that's
no,
illegal.
I wouldn't take them.
But I could totally sell them to you.
I don't think you can do that either.
No, but listen to this. Just notice how much I feel that it's
He's
funny
absolutely watching this.
that I feel
They're
that
sponsoring it, of course.
I feel that it's so funny that during that event, as much as I feel that the Mate 20 Pro is probably one of my favorite phones so far this year,
So far.
We're gonna get into that in a second.
Yeah, okay.
I just found it so shocking that Mate 20X took so much spotlight. Because regardless of the behemoth of a phone it is, it's got the camera of the Mate 20 Pro.
Which is amazing.
It's got an OLED. It's got the headphone jack that some people care about. It's got this huge freaking battery life.
Yeah.
It's big AF. It's literally the Honor Note 10, but the fact that it actually supports a stylus. So it's so many things, and yet it's less. It's $200 less expensive, almost $300 less expensive than the Mate 20 Pro.
And you know what's weird about that is that the things that it does do are the things that people care about, which is battery life and camera.
But they also miss something.
And giant screen.
And giant screen, and it's an OLED, and it has a headphone jack.
I take a lot of
Checks a lot of boxes.
I take a lot of exception to the way that they marketed it on stage, though, because they were trying to call it. It shouldn't be a gaming device. It's an old person device. This is an old people device.
Go on.
No, seriously.
Are you me? Are you talking about me?
No, like everybody has those people in their family who like require bigger screens because their eyesight's going or anything like that, or maybe they just want the ease of use of a larger screen, despite the fact that it's a big screen. It means it's a big phone. It's hard to handle. But there are a lot of people I know who would prefer a phone like this, and they're all like, "Hey, it's cheaper and I can see it.
Well, but
Let's do it."
cheaper in the sense that like a 737 costs less than a 757. Like these are not cheap phones.
Yeah, they're not. None of them are cheap.
in any sense.
We're like
Yeah.
$8.99 cheap.
and yet,
Yeah.
like, dude,
Those are aircraft.
Oh,
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
and yet it's got everything that we care about the Mate 20 Pro in a package that's less expensive and that offers more.
Yes.
I disagree.
Go.
By all means,
I
prove
like
it.
it.
Hit it.
I feel like the Mate 20 Pro, which we're going to talk about in a second,
Yes.
has all of the panache. It has all of the style that this phone lacks. The compromises that Huawei has made to make the Mate X, this massive slab, more affordable, are very evident. You hold it and it's like it's slab-sided. It doesn't taper to 2 millimeters.
Yeah, it doesn't actually
you
taper at all.
unlock it with a fingerprint sensor that is a regular old round thing stuck beneath the beautiful Matrix
That's
camera
symmetrical
module
to the Mate 20, so it's hard to
instead of-
reach.
Right. And instead of like the under display thing, and it doesn't have face unlock, right? And it's got a 1080p display. Right, not the
not the
IR.
3D depth.
So there's a lot of compromises that take away from everything the Mate 20 Pro is. This is a phone for people. I would argue that this is a phone for like a lot of the people in, I don't know, my comments, who every time I run a piece on like a phone without a headphone jack, they're like, "Would this no buy? I need something with a headphone jack and also a big screen would be nice." And also a 5,000. Why don't they put 5,000 milliamp hour batteries in phones? Well, there it is.
Yeah.
This is for power users of like a certain stripe.
I was about to say, I feel like this is a spec hunter. Right?
Yeah.
Like if you just care about specs, that phone ticks a lot of boxes.
Yeah.
Like and
So does this one.
no, it does. It does. And I like this phone a lot
The Mate 20
so
Pro.
far.
The
Mate
Mate
20
20
Pro. But I get the appeal of the Mate X. Like I think that's very much like if you just want a large screen, you just want the headphone jack, you just want the battery life, you want the same processor as all these phones, you want a great camera. Like check.
And
it's cheaper.
Have at it, Grandpa.
I mean, I think
No.
I think the regular
That's overkill for Grandma.
I think the Mate 20
Pro.
Pro, the Mate 20 Pro is like something that where they want to compete with like Apple by basically it's the high end because it is their future device because they put all their newest tech in it.
This is where we're going.
I think that it's a
In-screen
great
fingerprint reader.
competitor to the 10R.
Yeah.
Bixby would like me to connect and try again. I apologize.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
You know what? On that note, why don't we take our first break? This episode of the Pocketnow Weekly is made possible with support by Caseta by Lutron. And today I want to talk to you about Caseta by Lutron Smart Lighting Control. Brought to you by Lutron. Pioneers in smart home technology. With Caseta, you can schedule your lights to come on at dusk, so your family always comes back to a well-lit home. Caseta dimmers put the power of lighting your home with your voice. They work with Amazon Alexa, Google Assistant, and Apple HomePod speakers, plus a lot of other smart home devices like security cameras, thermostats, and music systems from Nest, Sonos, and more. You can say that Caseta is pretty well connected. You can trust that it works because it's from Lutron, the company behind the first electric dimmer with nearly 60 years of experience. Guys, I'm still waiting on Jules to send me some of these. He's been testing them out.
Jules, how dare you?
Oh my.
He's been testing them out for the past few weeks, and he says that being able to turn off his bedroom light without having to reach for the switch is pretty convenient. You guys all have smart lighting,
That's
right?
the reason why he
switches,
hasn't
yeah.
sent them to you.
Because he really wants to keep
He's
them.
enjoying them.
He hasn't left his bed. The man is still in bed.
I think we could all agree
On
that
his
if
laptop.
I think we could all agree that if you want to get to sleep, you want the fewest things as possible to get in the way, and controlling Caseta switches with your smart speaker helps with that. So go get your smart lighting and get it the smart way with Caseta by Lutron. You can search CASETA and hit up lutron.com for more information. Caseta by Lutron. Welcome home to peace of mind. Why do we love the Mate 20 Pro so much?
We gonna answer individually?
We're going right into it. Let's go right into it.
Start, Fisher.
Start here?
Yeah.
Fisher on the left.
They stole. No. Well,
Go.
they took inspiration from a manufacturer whose devices I've used for generations because of one feature, the wide-angle camera.
Yes.
They took off the monochrome, which I liked, but whatever. If you're going to replace it with an ultra-wide camera that lets me get the kind of shots that I've been able to get from an LG G6, G7, B30, B40, and pair it in other ones, V20,
All of the V.
V10 as well. Oh, you're doing a
Macro
wide
wide
angle
angle.
right in the face. No, but you're not in the right mode though. You got to
It
go
said max.
ultra wide.
It said super. I did. And it said super macro. I just didn't know.
Just
I
put it right
just
in his eyeball.
yeah.
Oh, I'm creepy.
Listen,
I'm
that was.
creepy in that photo.
I'm sorry, that was not very good radio, everybody. The ultra wide camera. I mean, it really is a very versatile third lens to put on the back of a phone. You pair it with Huawei's night mode. You pair it with you pair it with the 3x telephoto, which I'm sure somebody else will talk about. It's just
lot
the
of these
most
lenses.
versatile camera array I have seen.
I'm personally surprised by the fact that you can use this many lenses on this many modes.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
I kept trying to get disappoint myself, right? I'd switch over to wide and be like, all right, now go into night mode. Is it grayed out? Oh no, I can use it.
Yeah.
Oh,
You
God, and there is stabilization in wide
Electronic stabilization,
in video.
but
God,
nonetheless.
so I tried it in the Porsche ride today, and it was epic. So I was afraid to go to wide, and obviously I couldn't just ask the trainer to drive the car like crazy again. So I only had one shot to do it, and I by accident flipped into the wide angle, stable AF. It was great. I was like, oh my God.
Word, something we've been waiting for a while.
So why am I excited for the Mate 20 Pro? So the iPhone 10
Some weird
Galaxy.
way to start.
So this is the Galaxy. All right, so I'm looking at it from the back, and I'm like, this is the Samsung No, this is the Galaxy S 10s, with a V40 camera. This is literally Huawei took inspiration from a lot of technologies that have been really defining for taste, from design to functionality, and they've created this beast. This total beast of a phone. It's very hard for me not to be. I've never been in a presentation. You know, it's funny when I'm in these presentations and they make them for consumers.
Let me tell you.
They make them for consumers, and they're like, oh, it's got this, and I care. I don't care about half the things they say except for this one. I was like, wow, it can do that. It was wow. That was my reaction to absolutely everything they announced. A lot of it, I don't know, like the reverse charging. I don't know if that's going to be useful for more than once.
He used it today to help me.
You have to remember to mic them.
He used it today to help me. It was great.
You got 4% in half an hour.
Yeah, it's real slow, but it's
Really slow. My biggest problem is that we weren't brief on the price.
Yeah.
And when they were providing the price, I'm like, okay, Huawei, you want to own this?
Yeah.
You literally
Be a
have to
little cheaper.
price this below $900, and you're gonna own everybody.
You know they won't do that because
But
they want to be seen as equals.
But then
all these companies do.
No, but they're not. This is the most expensive entry level phone there is.
Why is
Think
it
about
entry level?
What?
Okay, no. Wait. No. The most expensive way to buy the product. So an iPhone is $999. A Galaxy Note 9 is $990.
It's $999 as well.
Okay, so this is the first phone that is truly in a price tag 4 digits. It's $1,050.
Well,
That's the
this
highest
is-
configuration.
No,
though.
This
yeah,
is-
you can. I mean, that's only if the Mate 20 didn't exist.
No,
like
but
you can't.
like,
you have
no,
to analyze
no,
the whole family.
We're talking
in
about the
context.
Mate 20 Pro because the Mate 20 doesn't compare to it, really.
Sure,
Like-
but you could say the same about the iPhone XS Max not comparing to the iPhone
So
10s.
no, but that's
and
no,
that
no,
starts
no,
at
no. But
1100.
literally, they're the same phone. Just one is bigger than the other,
Which has a bigger battery.
Whereas in the case of the Mate 20 Pro,
I know they're entirely.
they're entirely different. So
Yeah,
no,
I get it.
from the Mate 20 Pro perspective, this is literally the most expensive phone right now.
I don't know if I buy that. I don't know if you can say that. What's the Oppo Find X? What did the Oppo Find X start at in US dollars? You
But
know, like
you
there's
can
all
compare.
kinds of category stretching phones that have been launched. You can. The Oppo Find X has a lot of stuff that's in this.
And you guys didn't mention that this actually has a lot of the design cues from the Find
It
X as
feels
well.
like a Find X. Yes, it does. I said it.
I don't know what the price of the Find X is. If you could find it.
Well, if we want, and if
it's
we-
hard to get that phone.
It
still.
is,
Yeah.
and it's tough to get this one. But I had somebody write me an email and said he ordered it from Clove, and he's a U.S. citizen, so we
from
know
Clove?
the U.S. pricing. He ordered from Clove, and it's going to be delivered on the 26th or something, and it was $1,016 US with shipping, right? And also that includes like I think the watch comes with it and a wireless charger. So like
Wait,
The
for
watch?
the Pro.
for the Pro,
Yeah.
the Huawei Mate 20 Pro.
Yeah, not the Find X. The Pro.
Yeah, I'm sorry, excuse me.
Yeah.
So, so there's that, right? So like
That's not bad.
It may well be it's one of the most expensive phones without question.
Yeah.
But it's in the same price range.
Yeah,
It's
I'm not-
$50 difference.
right.
Or €50 difference.
Right.
It's just I wish they wouldn't have priced it so high. I'm like, my God, you can know.
You know what's funny? We could say that for a lot of these
and
phones these
boom,
days, though.
it's like God, 1050, really?
We can say that
All
for
right.
pretty much anything is a thing, and like
No,
it's a
we-
reality we don't want to accept, and it's totally understandable. But at the same time, it's like when you look at this compared to the Note 9, the only thing is missing is the S Pen, but it's also got a wide-angle lens. You have to figure out what your priorities are,
Yeah,
and we can't change companies actually making these prices as high as
I
possible.
would have a hard time going back to the Note 9 with everything this phone has.
The reason
Would you say that it's $50 more worth it?
Yes.
Yeah, I think the reason why this phone is so compelling compared to the rest of everyone else this year is because 2018's kind of been the year of the quote unquote incremental update. I think everyone used that term in
That's a
every
good
single
point,
phone
David.
release this entire year. And when you either don't offer more than we're a little faster and we're a little better, or in LG's case, now we have a wide angle camera even though it sucks. What? Or no, so they have a telephoto camera that's not optically stabilized.
I haven't done my review yet, David.
Well, it sucks. So it's like everyone else is like either we made it slightly better or we have one standout feature that may not even be that great. And then Huawei comes in and they're like, we have 5 standout features and they're all awesome. Like they're all legit like just actually well engineered and just good.
Yeah.
So like of course it's going to be worth the extra money cuz like you can't
Richard Yu has the best job in the world. He just goes up there, he reads off of the screen and says, "That's what they got. This is what we. This is what we got.
This is what we got."
Yeah.
People actually cheering during this.
We've spent these many we've spent these many billions of dollars in R&D, and we're actually pushing out a product that's worth that amount of money.
No.
Yes, I started my hands-on video with release the Kraken. Like this is the phone that's going to make everybody else look bad. That's the way I feel.
There are a lot of comments right now that, based upon all of our hands-on videos, they feel the same way.
I mean, everyone else should feel bad. Like, if they're releasing the same thing with a slightly faster processor at the same price, then they need to freaking change what they're doing.
Is it just boldness, though? Is it just the whole "make it possible" mantra? Like, is it why is
You know what it
Huawei?
is?
Why is
It's-
Huawei pushing the envelope like
It's
this?
being hungry versus not being hungry,
Yeah.
right? So Huawei needs to do things to stand out and gain more market share. Even though, yes, they are one of the largest companies on the planet, but like in certain markets, they are very much not. Whereas Samsung is comfortable, Apple is comfortable, right? Like when you're that comfortable, you do incremental things, right? Like Apple did it first, Samsung is now following that. And so Huawei is trying to stand out. It's a marketing thing. Like there's nothing to say that like when they get to a certain point, if they were number one, they might do the same, right? But like to your point though, like this does a lot of things really well, and like I don't know, like this is a phone that like when we all were pre-briefed, we were all like,
Whoa.
huh? Like obviously we wait, We're
Yeah,
like, well,
that's- I was
let me
gonna-
see how it actually
I was
performs.
going to make that point because there's a couple things
It's
that
the
doesn't.
truth,
There's a couple things that
'cause-
promises to do well right now
that
that,
it doesn't.
A either doesn't do it all or B doesn't do well.
Correct.
This
Correct. But like
software
when
needs to be
we were
updated.
all in that room and we were watching the spec sheet get listed and them telling us what it did, we were like, huh.
Oh yeah, it was
I
halfway.
would love to see this device. And that doesn't honestly as like jaded as we are to some degree.
No, it
like
doesn't.
that,
It doesn't
that
happen
doesn't
very
happen
often. And halfway through that New York City briefing is when I decided to come here to London.
Yeah.
Correct.
Because I was like, this is a phone
You
I
weren't
have to
coming,
see
that's
in
true.
person for
You
longer.
weren't
I was
coming.
not booked on this trip, and then I
You-
was like,
you
I
had
need to change my mind
declined.
because I need to see this. This might
Yeah.
be my next phone.
Yeah.
Because God,
had
it promises an
declined, that's
awful
true.
lot.
Well, that's what it was, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
No,
We
I
still have yet to see, but
I am so happy that this phone literally looks so good and doesn't feel like a truck and does everything that it does.
I was actually asking earlier of Michael, like, how can you still get that 6+ inch screen with the phone that doesn't feel quite like
it
that?
does not
Yeah.
feel big at all.
Yeah, and you said it was a taller screen, and I agree. Yeah, it
Aspect
definitely.
ratio, you put in a big honking notch that a lot of people are going to complain about.
They're gonna complain about it, but you
Oh,
know what? You
yes.
have the best of both worlds. You have a very minimal bezel, and then you have that bit of a notch because of the 3D depth
It's
sensor.
not deep.
Dear,
It's
dear
not a deep
commenters,
notch
yes,
either.
why not? Let's
It's not a
begin
pixel
talking about the
notch.
notch. It actually
Yeah.
serves a purpose here.
Yeah.
right. Well, fair. That's actually a great point. Like it does serve a purpose. There are
Yeah.
sensors in there that
It's just because you don't like the wide angle camera on the front. That's a purpose. That's a purpose on the Pixel.
not a purpose. It does not need to be
I
that
love it.
I mean, no, I
mean,
mean,
It
I'm sure it's
does
great, but it does
not
not need to be
to
that
look
deep.
like Wally.
I know.
Yeah, yeah.
I get that. It's the ugliest notch we have, but there's a purpose.
Also, it's fine if it has a purpose. Give me an option to hide it at least.
Yeah.
They don't even do that.
They do have to do
which
that.
is- they're going to, hopefully, but
Yeah.
whatever.
And even Michael over here is just admiring the phone.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the Mate 20
So
Pro.
you got-
yeah.
you
Those
got-
of you on the podcast.
Oh, so
you
Mike
got
is
Twilight?
lovingly
Yeah.
staring at his phone.
You know
right
what?
now.
What colors do you guys get, by the way?
What?
What colors do you guys get?
I got Twilight.
Twilight, David?
Well, it's not. They call it Twilight, but it's
More for Aurora, but it's
from the last device.
yeah, but
You
it's
got the
Twilight.
green.
Twilight.
They're
You-
backronyming it to Twilight.
got the
They're
green?
retconning it to
Emerald
Twilight.
greens
I
for
think
David and
it's
myself.
Emerald green.
This is
yeah,
emerald
we got
green.
the emerald green. Okay,
Am I the
You
only
too,
guy
Josh?
that got the blue?
I guess so. Yeah.
So here you go, David. See?
Oh, it is very different.
Yeah.
It's definitely green.
So the blue,
that-
the blue is
that blue-
definitely like a real blue.
Yeah.
It's
I
an
love it.
azure,
Azure.
and this is like a turquoise, like you
But
said.
really, I mean, the colors, yeah, when you go with the green and the blue one, it's less exciting that you get a green or blue phone. It's more exciting that it's still glass, but it's been etched in this
Yeah.
way that makes it more grippable and
Right.
makes the
Also-
fingerprints
It's
show up less
optically
more.
magical.
Oh, optical mega haze or whatever
Yeah,
it
that's
is.
it.
Yeah.
It's edge
Also-
glass.
Hyperlap.
I
Look at my
Hyper-
script.
Wait, that's cool.
hyper optical. Oh yeah, it sounds like it sounds like a
Make a
vinyl.
remix with it.
Yeah.
I don't actually know if I
He's
like.
got a mic on
I,
him.
I don't know if I like this. The feeling of it. I appreciate the fact that
Slippery
it's,
as hell, though.
it's not just regular glass, and that they put the more effort into it, and it looks nicer.
It's slippery as hell.
But
They're
it
all slippery, so
it
Yeah.
feels. I don't know. It feels like.
it hurts.
Okay, so here's the thing for me.
It doesn't hurt.
Here's the
Doesn't
thing for
hurt,
me. Like
doesn't hurt.
OnePlus was able to make this coating that just felt like silk, and it just felt so good. And then Google with the Pixel 3
Oh, that feels
freaking
good.
amazing.
Yeah.
That
Pixel
feels
3
like
feels
this-
amazing to hold.
That soft touch glass
So nice.
is so unique and so interesting.
To get rid of this case, yes. Sorry.
But
for
I
it.
don't know. I appreciate that they're doing the etching because it looks very different. I have a question for you guys. So, how do you feel about the design of the camera module?
I love it.
I
love
love
it.
it.
I love it as well, and I'll tell you why. The P20 Pro, had a gradient that was unlike anything else on the market. But if you took that gradient away, got the black one, kind of looked like an iPhone 10 with a camera lens. Like they moved the camera lens up to the corner and put an extra one below it. But this one, like no one else is doing a big block full of its cameras, right? The Matrix
The
camera
stove.
design.
It's
The
the
stove.
stove.
Oh, so how do you feel about it?
You did
Josh?
say
It's
that. I
the
like that.
stove.
What it is, and we know this because we've gone to the European,
Design
the aesthetic center in Paris. But the truth is that like Huawei all of a sudden is understanding the value of design language.
Ah, finally.
Finally, and so
Well, we
so
saw
these,
this in Paris, by the way.
That's what he said.
That's what it said. Cool.
I was somewhere else.
Yeah, it's all good. But no, like that's something that I think is important to them, and they haven't realized until now. And like,
Well, they
this
said as much in
does-
Paris.
and they did actually. They
Yeah.
were like, "Well, we're doing this now." Right? Exactly. Where was it?
It was in Paris.
It was in
in
Paris.
Paris.
So, yeah,
Yeah,
we went
yeah,
to
yeah.
Paris. That was great. So no, but like it does. Like it's unique from behind. Like even if you had a case on this, you would know it was a different device.
Yes.
No?
No.
Why are you laughing?
No, don't worry about it. It's for our viewers.
Okay. So you know what I think is interesting is that Huawei are still coming up, right? Obviously they're like number 2 phone manufacturer now.
I just thought
So they're really actually huge. But there was a time in which Samsung was what Huawei is now, where Samsung were the ones that were innovating and packing crazy amounts of things into their phones. And then Samsung got so comfortable they started leaning on luxury.
They were hungry,
and
now they're not.
Yes, but that
like
is
I said.
That's interesting to me because now Huawei is doing the same thing, but they're also starting to lean on luxury.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean by lean on luxury?
Because Samsung packed crazy amounts of tech into their phones until everyone bought Samsung phones, and then they started being like, if you own a Samsung phone,
you're cool.
You're high class. It's like the whole iPhone.
It became a branding thing. Yeah.
Well, and I wonder, that's an interesting point, and I don't really have a completed thought about this, and I wonder if y'all can help me, because we used to tear apart Samsung back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
Of Galaxy S2, Galaxy S3.
Hyperglaze?
They were plastic, crappy feeling phones,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But they loaded in, the point is, they loaded in so many features
Yeah.
that were not useful. Or they were half baked and they were trying to be useful. Screen stay, you would like if you blinked at if you closed your eyes, the screen would turn off. Except it didn't really work right.
Yeah.
Using 4 Galaxy S4s as a surround sound speaker system, like the thing that Nokia is now calling Bothy, like being able to shoot with the front and back camera simultaneously.
Oh yeah, you were
all these things.
Dual sight, man.
Sure.
Please don't call
Sorry,
them
excuse
Bothy.
me.
I hate that.
And we just kind of ripped into them for this because they would load in 150,000 features and like 4 of them were useful.
Yeah.
Huawei is no less guilty of loading in a bunch of crap you're never going to use, including doing the same thing LG is doing as like ripping off the iPhone portrait modes poorly.
Yes.
So like, why is it that I'm more accepting of that when it comes to Huawei? Is it because these phones are like, from a hardware standpoint, works of art? And
Probably.
the Samsung phones of the time were plastic pieces of crap?
Probably.
Is that what it is?
It's because there are.
P20.
Is it the camera? Like,
I mean,
go ahead.
Even though they offer, things that may not be that important, they also hit the standards very well, and I think that's what
the
things
must-haves.
Like, yeah, that's
They
what
hit
things
the-
like the V40 completely fell apart on.
They somehow hit the fundamentals in such a way that makes you like. It's a phone that
Hardcore.
it's a phone you're happy to use, and in the cameras in particular, there are some extra features on there that actually work to the benefit. Like the night mode. The night mode is something that we've used so many times
Definitely.
already.
Damn.
And it's something no one else does.
Yeah,
no one
It's
else
crazy
does.
to me because I thought somebody would have copied it by now. But
Yeah.
Oh god.
Yeah.
Oh, well, Google is doing it now, but it's still not launched.
How long ago did they hire? I remember in your review of the P20 Pro, you mentioned, and I had no idea that they hired the designer from Nokia.
From Nokia.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they hired him in time for him to be involved in the P20 Pro's
Exactly.
development, but I don't remember. The guy behind one of the guys behind PureView. That was obviously a huge team.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, there's that.
It's just interesting because I feel like these, especially Chinese companies that are trying to rapidly develop, are leaning on different things. Like OnePlus leans on community, and they lean on like low price, high value, but no extra
Xiaomi
frills.
as well.
Exactly.
Xiaomi is
And that
the
was
king of that.
That
Yes.
was the next company that I was gonna bring up, like, because OnePlus leans on community, but the only reason they have a community is because they're so like, here's the phone, no extras, but it's got high specs. And then Xiaomi's like, we're making our software literally based on what you tell us. OnePlus doesn't do that. They just like make it super basic. And so these Chinese companies are kind of like taking various approaches, but it's interesting to me that Huawei is kind of starting to lean into the every feature ever, but now we're kind of being luxury type thing. Because I could see a point in which they stopped innovating and just tried to make jewelry.
Dude, but I'll tell you this much: that is very functional jewelry, man.
Oh yeah, this is especially because
that's to your point. Like, it hits the fundamentals right now, and that's all we can.
right now it hits the
excels
for me-
fundamentals
in the
extremely
camera,
well.
the
for
battery
me-
life, the this, and the other.
for
The
me-
rest, if it's jewelry and it doesn't work properly, I don't care.
For me, it has
That's the difference
one.
between that and
Yeah.
the Samsungs of the back of the
It
day.
Yeah,
has
sure.
one thing that separates the iPhone from Android for me. One stupid little thing. What do I like about the iPhone 10 and 10s? That I can look at it. And
Apple logo, you effing sheep. Of course.
Duh.
50 million upvotes. Go ahead.
No, so
YouTube.
I love.
We'll see you in the comments.
I love I love getting notifications that my notifications are not visible on the iPhone 10 and 10s until I look at the phone. And so the Huawei Mate 20 Pro is the first phone to do that from Android.
Did the Find X do it? Because it had a thing, right?
It has
Mine didn't
it.
do that just now, by the
It
way. I
has
just
it,
tried
but
to test
does-
it. It just
it-
went
you
right
can't-
into my...
You can't tell notifications. It's either or. I either see them, like for example, right now. I don't have any notifications, but like I like that. I like that level of privacy where I'm not forced to unlock my phone to see my stuff, or vice versa. So as much as we can crap on EMUI all we want, they've actually made some changes that I actually like that Android doesn't do.
Yet.
Android, like the
Yeah.
Pixel, doesn't do that.
The main one that I always think is useful. I don't use it, but I think that some people could. Is the dual app
Oh, I love it.
and the second space app twin.
Yeah,
Yes.
OnePlus has that.
Yeah, they do too.
OnePlus has that. Oh, Oppo was the first company to have that, and
Yeah.
App Blocker, and a lot of those things.
What do you use it for?
Two Instagram
Snapchat?
accounts.
Yeah.
Back before. Oh, I see.
Pardon
yeah.
me.
No. Twitter.
Before-
It's Twitter.
Well,
It's Twitter.
also before Instagram
the
supported multiple accounts,
Yeah.
it was really useful.
Yeah, sure.
I did have 2 WeChat accounts at one point.
Oh.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because I
indeed.
got locked out of my first one.
Okay.
Yeah, and then this is when I was with Xiaomi, and they have the same thing, where you could do dual app. So I had to log into both at some point once I finally was able to get back into my other one.
And then there are things that I don't like about the user interface. Like if you want to go for gestures, I like that they've adopted a gesture for the Google Assistant. I hate that they've adopted the back gesture from Xiaomi, where you have to go to the edge of the phone and slide. And so that feels okay on the Mi Mix 2S where there's no curve. But on this phone, because of the curve, it's like really hard to. It makes it difficult.
Hate me if you want, but I just want everyone to copy Apple's gestures. Like,
Let me hit you then.
okay, for me,
You're right.
like,
No.
They did copy Apple's gestures besides
They did copy Apple's gestures, and I love that they didn't adopt the.
But they work.
Like
I like
hard press the power button to get the Google Assistant. I like that.
You're all wrong. The only if
Go
you're
on,
if you're going to steal gestures, the only company you need to look at is Motorola. They are the only ones who've
Yeah,
done gestures correct.
there's
There's a persistent bar that lives at the bottom
You're
of the
right.
screen.
Oh,
you swipe back to go
God.
back. You
Yeah.
swipe up to go home. You
Yeah.
swipe right to go to multitasking. It is
Okay,
the simplest
hate.
thing.
so why
and
did
you
Google
always
not do
know.
that in the first place?
Ridiculous.
Because having a
What
pill,
company?
Oh yeah,
that just
indeed.
doesn't make sense to me. Is Google's, who should be like the baseline,
Oh, yeah.
has
It's
has
so
a
bad.
pill
It is.
and a back button
It's
and
so
nothing on
bad.
the right. Like, what is symmetry?
And
like, what?
the problems with that implementation are just
You just swipe
it's
to the left to go
manifold.
back. It's not hard.
I can't. Anyway, I put the buttons back on the Mate 20 Pro for what it's worth.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm
Same
actually,
here,
thinking,
same here.
I'm actually thinking of putting mine back because
You know, I think
it's
I'm gonna do
really
that
hard
as
to
well.
go back correctly.
Well,
That's
what
my
is-
problem.
You just gotta be very forceful about it.
Yeah, but the problem is because it's curved.
You gotta be angry at your phone
because
when you
it's-
want to go back. You're like,
because-
oh, you have to go back.
The problem is
God
because
damn it,
because
and
it's
that's
curved.
it. Great.
Your palm touches the other side.
No,
And it, like,
lift your
it,
arm,
like,
man.
screws
Like,
up the.
stop.
Lift your arm.
Move your thumb.
This
Boom.
podcast brought to you by the Human Pretzel.
What were you doing looking at the...
So I was looking up spiders because this man was bit
Oh
by
yeah, take
Hello.
off your shoe.
I'm
Yeah,
not
don't
showing
take
you
off
my
your
foot
shoe.
right now.
Look back, that's back. Oh look, I went.
He's
back. Oh, look,
swiping.
couldn't
He's
do it
swiping on the
because your
side
thumb was
there. Yeah.
touching
Yeah,
the other
it's
side.
Oh,
it's
sorry
hit,
guys, I'm doing this thing. No, like I'm doing it. It's not
it's
hard.
hit or miss.
Okay, I'll tell you what. Do you use
You're
Gboard?
using
No,
your
no, no.
left hand right now.
Because I use my left hand to use my phone. But that's the other thing that,
Okay,
that
the-
Huawei
the-
pointed out
then
was
at-
that
that-
this is what's the word? Not
Ambidextrous.
You can use it from the right or from the left.
I didn't
I
know.
appreciate
First
being
time I
able to
hear
use my
that
phone
word
on
in
my
You didn't
left
know
hand,
that.
even though I'm a right-handed person.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you're
I'm
welcome.
diestro. I didn't.
So,
I'd
but
never
look,
heard
I'm not,
me
I'm not saying it's good though. Like it's still the worst gesture they have. Like it's still
It's
because of the
bad.
curved screen. I agree. It does not feel great.
And
It's just
try
like
and
Samsung.
try using it on Gboard when you're trying to go backwards and you end up erasing everything you wrote.
Try using it on the camera. Whenever you're on the camera and then it flips, you don't know where back is anymore.
There are simply places
Like
where
on
these
Gboard when you're
gestures
trying to collapse the keyboard and it
That
just
too?
like and
That's annoying.
it thinks
Yeah,
you're
I agree.
swiping. It thinks
That
you're
too?
swiping.
Mm-hmm.
It's freaking terrible.
No, it's really annoying. It is.
I'm just gonna bring back my bar too. To be
You're
honest.
right.
I
Let's
mean,
do
that's the easy way to do it.
let's do the buttons.
All right, well, let's take another break.
All right, the Pocketnow Weekly is also sponsored by OnePlus.
The OnePlus 6T is giving you the speed you need on October 29th now, and tickets to the big launch event in New York and New Delhi have sold out. So if you can't make it in person, you can catch the live stream starting at 11 a.m. Eastern, 1500 GMT. Head to pocketnow.com/OnePlus6T for more information, and stay tuned for the announcement. So I just want to spend 10 to 15 on the end of this, just talking a little bit about the experience we had today. Of course, we'll tie it into the device.
I'll leave the room. That's cool.
Oh,
You need to drive
David
again.
doesn't have a valid driver's license. That's me. Because I live in New York and never thought about it, and then went to the Porsche event, and they, of course, because someone in there is German.
Yep.
Was like 9, and then that was the end of it. And then I was
10, 11.
verbatim.
So what did
Verbatim,
we?
That's literally what they did.
So what did we end up doing today? I mean, Jaime had the most
What
fun. I
did
feel
you
like.
God, I had.
Hate everyone.
It was
That's what
therapy.
you are.
It was fantastic.
Aw.
So it was bittersweet. I think is the best way to say it, because I feel that the easiest way for Huawei to guarantee that I could ever use any of their phones as my daily drivers permanently is if that phone is not on everybody else's hands.
So we're talking, of course, about the Mate 20 RS. This
So
is the
I
Porsche
wanted
design phone.
Porsche's design, which like they make the camera hump look like if it's flush, but it's not. It's a little thicker, and that's how they achieve that flush design.
That phone is a bit thicker.
with leather from cows from somewhere in Texas,
Large cows.
large
Specifically.
that are treated 4 weeks before they're.
And this is the thing I wanted to get into is like this phone, like Huawei. We were talking about luxury earlier, David.
No barbed wire.
They don't use barbed wire.
Like
I was hoping that sentence wouldn't end the way it did.
Yeah.
It's like no barbed wire because it damages the product. I'm like,
But
gee.
Well, like Huawei.
look at the brands that they have partnered with.
Yeah, Huawei
and Leica.
Huawei is leaning
Or-
on luxury, but they're picking the right brand.
Yeah.
It
Picking the
feels
right
like.
brands.
Yeah,
Let's
you have
face it.
Leica.
Like
you have
Richard
Porsche.
Richard Yu is obsessed with Europe, is what I've heard, and so we've got Leica, we've got Porsche design, and I mean, I found it funny when we were in the presentation and people were like, some of us members of the press were arguing about the price. I'm like, why are you arguing about the price? It's a Porsche design product.
Yeah, when they
Like,
asked, like,
have
what
you
makes
ever-
this more expensive, I was like, do you really want to get an answer?
Why
out
are
of
we
this?
asking this question?
Yeah.
You're not forced to buy the Porsche design variant.
Yeah.
You could buy the regular one and be happy.
It's like, do you know what branding is?
Like, do you have any idea what that is?
Yeah.
Like, this is like whatever,
But yeah, they were sort of agonizing on about just how hard it is to make the phone and all that, and we're not going to be able to get the price down of this phone. It's ridiculous. It's 1695 euros for the lower model of it.
But the lower model in this case is a higher model of
The Mate 20 Pro.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because
I just remember him saying up there, it was like, well, imagine if you bought the biggest cows you could. It still won't make more phones. And I was like, okay,
that's an
cool.
interesting metaphor.
I was like, all right.
It's a limited edition product. That's it. You can
How
choose
much-
to buy it or not.
How much does that play into your purchasing situation?
Everything. It's
It
like the
really-
only
it
reason you buy this
completely-
is to have the Porsche design.
It completely
name.
depends on what
Yeah.
kind of person you are and what you care about.
Well, what's the most special edition thing you have, Michael?
Oh, I have a 1 in 12 Star Trek communicator prototype from 2009 from Nokia
How about you,
that
David?
I bought on eBay.
Dude, I'm homeless.
Jesus. Wow, this
His-
guy
his-
freaking deep. Yeah.
His most prized possession is all my possessions.
Yeah. I don't really have anything that's super limited edition, I guess.
you never had.
Oh. My Groudon coin from my Pokemon Ruby pre-order.
Oh, hey.
But you're doing this like if we understand what that is.
I don't know what that means.
How about you, Cogen?
Nothing.
You know
literally
what I'm
have
talking
nothing
about.
You know
limited
what I'm
edition.
talking
I don't
about.
think there's a single so I'm also a very minimalistic person. So like I am obviously not the person to buy this device.
Very
See,
modern
that's what I was
of you.
asking. That's what I'm
But
trying
it's
to
just-
say.
I'm very millennial of me, I'm sure.
Indeed,
but that's
yeah.
fine. But like I don't need these things.
I live in the American Gardens building.
Actually, I do have a band poster of one of my favorite bands that is It's limited edition.
Okay.
God, I don't think I have anything that's limited edition.
Right. Same. You're a millennial, just like older.
I like to get them because our job is cool.
You should have said Diego.
Aw. his son. That's
I'm kidding. You're
adorable.
children, of
Yes.
course.
Limited
You're
edition.
children.
It's a limited edition younger Jaime. Only one was
So,
made.
but yeah, like I have like. What about you?
I can't really think of anything in particular. I mean, maybe my Onitsuka Tigers, but I have 3 pairs of them, so it's not really limited edition. But no one I know really has it, and I
limited
think
to
that's
3
what I was
pairs.
going for. Is that you get this phone because nobody else has it?
I don't
That-
really care
yeah.
about
Nobody
that
else
though.
in the States has a Huawei.
Yeah.
Already limited edition.
Right, but the Porsche design isn't going to be sold in the States either.
Obviously.
Yeah,
not.
so-
and it's also probably sold out at this point.
So in a region like Europe, for example, where Huawei is widespread, then I want to get the latest thing, but I want this model that no one else is going to have.
right,
I
because
get
I
it.
also crap money and
Yeah,
love
it's
my Ferrari.
right. It's a
or
novelty
my
for
Porsche
rich
for that
people.
matter. Like, that makes sense, though. That's what it
here's-
is. Right.
But here's the thing.
We're just not the demographic, and most people
I
watching
find
this
it
probably not.
shocking when I see people buying an Apple Watch Hermes.
Right, well, that's the same concept.
Yeah.
Same concept.
So if I
You're
had to,
buying
there
a
are, there are
brand.
there are certain combinations for that Apple Watch Hermes that cost the same as that Porsche designed phone.
Yeah,
Where am I getting more of my money's worth? Is
you're
the
not,
question.
but that's not the
But
point.
yeah, no one cares about value.
Exactly.
cares about
so
the
you,
value in that
so you
point.
can't quantify the value. That's the
can't.
point that I was
We're
trying to
nerds
make.
and we want to quantify everything, and we can't.
But also, can I just say that like the bottom SKU Porsche design, right? No, it's higher than, isn't it?
Well, it's
Okay.
that's what it means. This is
It's
a better
the
Pro.
same. Okay,
It's
so
a
how
better
much is
Pro.
the top model Pro?
I think it was 1200. I think it was
It's
1200.
probably around $1,200. Yeah,
I think it was
what's
1200.
the lowest model?
$1,016 shipped.
No. The lowest model.
It's 1600.
Porsche design?
Yes.
So for $400
€1,600
more,
euros.
1695 euros.
No, it's not dollars.
euros
Yeah,
more,
so 400
You
euros.
get an extra charger because that does come in the box.
Yep.
you
You
get
get
it.
a little piece of plastic that says it's limited edition. You get a little piece of plastic that says it's limited edition. And then, what else? Oh, a leather case.
Leather?
Yeah.
No, that's not leather. Did you touch
Oh, I'm
the
sorry,
case?
it's not leather. You're right. It's
That
just
they
leather.
said it. I don't know if
It's
they
plastic.
said it, but
It's
it's
leather.
not
Yeah, it's plastic.
leather.
So all right. So let's say like those roundabout.
Nice box. A little card that says you own a
That's
Porsche
what I
design
said.
Mate 10
Yeah. So I
Pro.
said a little plastic card that's like this is
You're
genuine.
in the club.
So, but it's
Sorry.
still like a few €100.
This is my point, though, is that it doesn't matter, and I actually think that they're underpriced.
I think so too.
I think they're underpriced because, like, so what if you get more hardware? You're not the person that's gonna buy it. If you're gonna buy it, you want it because you want it, and like
Right.
I mean,
branding,
look at
you
Virtue,
pay
I
for
mean.
branding.
Yeah, but
Right.
that's all Virtue did.
Yeah.
They didn't have other models.
Yeah.
Like if you're buying a product that is specifically branded as a luxury product, then it doesn't matter what's in it.
I forgot. I forgot I do have a limited edition product.
What's
I
that?
have a Porsche design hard drive.
Do you really?
I have a Porsche design hard drive made
That's
by
impressive.
Lacey.
Oh,
Lacey,
Lacey.
that.
Lacey.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Lacey. Porsche design, I know exactly what you're talking about.
that thing tore every single bag I had because
Oh,
it
it's
was
sharp as
It was
hell.
sharp
Sharp
AF.
as
Yeah.
hell.
Yeah.
God, I do.
I
All
just,
your
I
friends
just,
can be envious of your hard drive.
I just don't know. I mean,
As it destroys your bag.
it's just like the mentality of the whole Porsche design thing. I totally get it. Like there's functional, there's form, there's design, there's style and all that. And I can't really think of a Porsche design product I wouldn't use if I owned it. They were showing off all of them, the chronographs to the
Oh,
the jacket.
You're not wearing the
Dude,
jacket.
they
That
were
is the
right. They were right.
douchiest
Like-
thing you could possibly wear.
That wasn't a Porsche design jacket though.
It
That's
was
just a
a
Porsche,
Porsche-
jacket, not Porsche
made
design.
by Porsche design.
No. But here, so I love the fact that the chief designer of Porsche design was still using a Mate 9.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
He could have any phone he wants.
He did whipped it out. He
literally-
proved it.
He literally contributed in the design, and he was still using a phone. And so his point was, we make timeless products. If you see our watches, they don't look from the 70s. If you see our pens, they don't look from the 80s.
True.
If you see our bags, they don't look from the 90s. We make products that you can use as long as you want. And that makes a lot of sense.
Well, we're always going to be very millennial of me to say right now also, but it's not about the things, it's about the experiences. So it made a lot of sense to me that if this is a phone that you are going to have that no one else has, you're also going to get an experience that
And
no one
we
else will
did.
have.
God, my God, that driving experience was fantastic.
If everybody
David
bought that
Cogen,
phone, they got the driving experience. Sure, worth
Yeah,
it.
absolutely.
But that's not fair. Because not everybody
That's
got
another idea
Right.
we need to give them.
Yes, we do.
Any thoughts you want to give on actually getting behind the wheel of a Porsche?
Yes, I have so many. I hate all of you.
Can you still drive
No.
the Pro though?
And I got in the car, and he tried to make me nauseous.
God.
We did donuts in the parking lot.
You did donuts in the parking lot?
Yeah, we did.
Oh,
No.
I almost puked.
So
It was fun for me.
So
It was
for
fun.
those of you that watch my AT&T Can Wait campaign video, I was in a horrible car accident in 2015. And ever since then, I've had literally like PTSD. Like I've like insecurities when driving. And that's the main reason I didn't buy a fast car anymore, where I bought a truck. Like I focused on things that would not put me in a position to have another accident like that. And this was the first time since then that I felt confident about driving a car at the speed that I did. It was fabulous. Like it was therapy for me. I had such a great time. And definitely, I mean, the instructor, she was amazing. Not just in looks, like she was really not knowledgeable. Like she did an amazing job.
That's Jaime Rivera, P.O. Box 237, Detroit, Michigan.
you just had to quickly ease that one in there. Not just in looks.
Oh my God, no, she was fantastic, and she was kicking everybody's ass.
Not just in look.
Yeah.
When we were going around the track, Michael, did I see that you weren't? Did you drove, right?
Drove the hell out of that thing.
Okay, I saw you in the passenger seat.
Yeah, the last round he was
Gotcha.
like, after
Same.
I completed the ice incline on my first attempt,
Yeah.
contrary to my instructor's expectations, he was like, gave me a firm handshake, which I appreciated, and then he was like, "Let me hop in that driver's seat for a second. I'll show you how I do some turns," and it was quite impressive.
Yeah.
Had nothing to do with the phones. But I really appreciated learning something about how cards are handled professionally.
So
I just wish they presented it that way.
No,
Because
man,
this is
like-
something you'll never have. This is something that is uniquely yours. Something you'll always have. And I'm always going to remember this experience as well.
Yeah, no, me
And
too.
that's what that
all of you.
It was
Josh,
not
why
amazing
you?
if
Because
it
you were
makes feel
doing
better.
that launch. What was it? Launch pad or what?
I was doing launch control, and I was challenging myself to brake at the last possible second.
Yeah, same.
I was just trying my best to learn everything I could, because I don't think I'll ever be behind the wheel of a car like this again. I don't. And I wanted to take every moment of it. Like with the GT3 that we were driving, I
God, that
didn't.
GT3 felt like a beast.
Yeah, I did not go back to any of the wet areas. I stayed on the track, and I said, "I want to be on this track with this car if you'll let me." And he said, "Have at it." And he started giving me tips on how to really be efficient on the track. It's a skill I wanted to learn. And it's something that I know I won't be
It
able
was
to get any
such
other
a
time.
different car to the other one that I drove first.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
So I wanted to take advantage of that moment, And then, of course, the Porsche design phone was in my pocket the entire time.
So I actually used the experience.
Oh, and
I-
driving on the right side of the road is really weird.
It's horrible. But I asked her to drive because they weren't allowing us to film. And so I was like, "So what if you drive and I film you?" And she's like, "Yeah, we could totally do that."
Oh, they didn't tell me I could do that.
That's
Okay.
all I was allowed to do.
So I used that experience. I used that experience to test the 4K stabilization
I did
on
the
the
same,
phone.
and it went really well. That
Dude,
was a very-
like from the telephoto does not have good stabilization in 4K
I think it's broken because
Yeah.
the P20 Pro has quite good stabilization on the 3X.
Yeah.
And I think it's got to be a software patch.
It has to be
and
a
this
software
is not
issue.
final software.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
yeah.
Because
That's what I'm saying. That's what I mean when I say it's broken.
and I
Like,
wasn't
think it
using the
needs a
Porsche
fix.
design phone. I was using the
regular
regular Mate 20
Still
Pro.
not
And so, oh my God, so 4K, there's no 4K at 60 right now, even though apparently the processor is capable. But I did 4K at 30, and there's great stabilization on the regular sensor. And then if you do the wide, I don't know why, but I felt it even better.
Yeah, well, it's because it is more frame to work with,
Yeah.
right? Like that makes sense.
Yeah,
yeah.
Better, yeah.
Yeah, but it's EIS. We should say it's not.
Well,
optical.
but dude, at this point, EIS has literally made OIS
Yeah,
become
it's at least gyro EIS.
and
yeah.
video, sure.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, NVIDIA. Right.
All right. Well, it was a good time, is all I'm saying.
I think we
and
had a
were all
great
there,
time.
And
Yep.
I'm looking right at Cogen when I say
I know
this.
you are.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Why are you doing that?
I don't know.
That's weird.
It's a habit now.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I hate you.
How's your Pixel?
You're gonna go there.
I'm kidding, bro. I'm kidding. I want one last hot take from everybody before we call it on this one. You have price is no object. You can pick one or the other. It's sitting right in front of you. PD or Pro. David, go. Yeah, RS or Pro.
RS.
Oh, God.
And
really?
but as
That's
not
a bad question. Let's get the RS out because we can't have it. Let's put another phone.
but
All of us are going to
Okay.
say RS. So
No,
But-
no,
That is
no, no,
not true.
No, not true.
for
Go
me
ahead.
it has nothing to do with the branding because I don't care at all about branding. And I'm not even a car guy. Like I drove a Porsche and I know that I'm in an extremely lucky position to be able to do that.
yeah.
And it was kind of fun. And not a lot of people get to do that. but like I don't
Looking
really
at you right now.
overall
Just renew your license for God's sake.
To it. In New York, we don't drive things.
like ultimately I don't really care about cars. Like
Yeah.
I just don't. And so it's not a big deal to me. But
It's a beautiful thing.
the leather feels really good to hold and it's grippier and it doesn't attract fingerprints like crazy.
No.
And I also like the heat that it gathers when you're
Okay.
holding it. So
Cogs?
Cogen.
I agree with you. Like that. Like also that leather is like proper leather.
Yeah.
It's not like it feels better. He's making a face.
I am making a
Go on.
face.
Jump on it.
I've used the Moto X 2014, which is the best leather that you can find on a smartphone in history.
I haven't actually used that. So like,
I
okay.
will- you have to hold mine.
All right, deal.
I just fist bumped Michael for that because that's kind of part of my point as well.
Okay, well that makes sense. But regardless, I would actually choose the Pro because I actually prefer some of the other things that it has, and I prefer. I don't know. I like the styling. I like the gradient color. I know that like a lot of people are bashing on it because it's not as good as the last gradient, but I don't know. I kind of like. I like that it's brash. I like that it's outstanding. It's going to be different because I live in the United States. So nobody has this phone anyway. But that's it. No, I would choose the Pro.
I didn't like the separation between the leather on the RS. It seemed a little bit weird to me, and I remember talking to a bunch of people on our trip, and I was just like, I'm not sure about this leather, and they kept going, but the camera's flush. I'm like, but the leather is kind of odd,
my
but the camera's
God.
flush.
Camera bump, like extremists are the worst.
Yeah, but the camera's
I
flush.
mean, everybody in our comments.
Yeah, basically.
Why
Yeah, I don't mind the bump. That's good enough.
in 2018? Shut up.
Yeah, basically. Like,
Give me a camera bump.
I don't mind the camera bump. The one on the Pro is not even that egregious.
Name
No,
a
this
camera
isn't
without
bad,
a bump
actually.
on
Yeah.
it. Like seriously.
Yeah, well, the
It
Porsche
feels-
design and then a couple honor phones, right?
It feels great. The phone feels great. I just don't think that it's actually that much more attractive than the Pro. And I did a poll on Instagram, and somewhat narrowly, the Pro did win out. It's still different in a way. It's almost like when you see that PD logo on the back, and then you see leather, you're like, well, of course, right? It's expected.
The red
So-
was kind of nice though.
That's
We
what
didn't
I,
get to
okay.
use the
So
red,
that
but the
okay. So
red
that's
leather
that's
was
me.
nicer than the black
That's
leather.
me. So I am pissed that they made that red variant exclusive to China. I'm
they
like,
did.
really? Okay, because I like that. Even
I like that red.
I would have loved that Porsche design phone in like a silver leather with the black bar in the middle. That would have looked fantastic.
I agree.
Can you have silver
But
leather?
for me,
Yeah, it can be any color you want, right?
But for me, like right now, I am sitting on Phonetober.
Phonetoberfest.
Phonetoberfest.
Oh, hey, I like it.
I have so many phones to review up
Yeah.
until like February of next year. It's like crazy.
Same.
And we've still got more to see. So if I had to pick all of these phones, obviously we have to wait for the final software of the Mate 20 Pro, make sure that it delivers on all its promise. But I find this phone to be fascinating. And if I could have like a limited edition version, that red, I would go for that. Like if I had a choice, if I could pick just one phone, and I've had Pixel 3 XL, I have all the iPhones, I've had all the Galaxies, and the one, well, we don't know what OnePlus 6T is going to be yet, but I would grab that red Mate 20 Pro Porsche edition.
Hey, Josh.
Mhm.
I just, because I've forgotten, the question was the Porsche design or the regular one, right?
Yes.
Yeah, the Pro.
Okay, cool.
wow.
Jesus, Jaime.
Sorry, Mr. Twilight. Sorry, Mr. Twilight.
You know,
Man.
it's all good. The Pro, yeah, the Pro.
I would choose the
That looks
Pixel
great.
Ultra, dude, every day. All day.
The what?
The Pixel Ultra.
Ultra, man, all day, every day.
No, can I touch on just one thing that
Go
we
for
haven't
it.
really touched on? I was very apprehensive that this in-display fingerprint sensor was going to be bad.
It was bad
Because
on
it
the
was
demo.
bad on the previous
On the demo.
It was bad on the demo devices we saw on our pre-brief, and it was also bad on the Porsche design.
really bad.
The
Mate 10 RS.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was very worried, but I have to tell you, I'm using this. I turned off the face scanner for
me too.
reasons that don't really matter.
To
But
force
mainly
yourself
because
to
I wanted
use
to
the
use the
fingerprint
fingerprint
reader.
sensor
Yeah.
to see how it was,
That's
right?
what I did too.
And man,
It's
it's a
pretty
lot
good.
better than I thought it
It's
was going to
pretty
be, and it's
good.
a lot faster than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Is there room for improvement? Most certainly.
Yeah.
Do I still wish I had some kind of tactile guide to know where the divot is, like on a hardware fingerprint sensor? Totally. But once you get a little bit of muscle memory involved, it's so cool.
It is
good.
pretty cool. It's always going to be kind of like a wow factor.
Yeah.
I think I said that in my video too. I was like, the thing about the fingerprint sensor is that you don't know where it is when you first start using the device.
Yeah.
But like at some point, I imagine you would gain some muscle memory and you'd be okay with it. And it does have like a little indicator, but like that indicator doesn't come on until you kind of like mess with it. Well,
It's
for
always-
me-
it's always
for
ready,
me,
though.
The face scanner works pretty well.
Yeah.
Like, as soon as I pick it up, but like there's plenty of times that I've used that fingerprint scanner because the face scanner is not quick enough.
But at least it's better than the one on the Pixel, where if you turn on the display, it'll indicate unlock with fingerprint, but then the scanner's at the back.
Right. Yeah. Like
That's so stupid.
every phone gives you that fingerprint sensor prompt. And I still remember my parents on their first iPhone, like putting their thumb on the display where the thumbprint logo was, and I'm like, no, it's not part of the screen. That would be impossible.
That is crazy, Doc.
And how cool is it that we're at that point?
Yeah,
At
I mean,
I
least.
it's just awesome.
distinctly remember in middle school I had an iPod Touch, the first generation.
You had an iPod Touch in middle school.
How old are you, man?
All right.
That's why I said first generation.
Bunch of old timers sitting on the couch. Yeah.
Anyway,
I remember
Even me
graduating
now.
from college and being like, I wonder if they'll ever build an iPod Touch. Sorry, go ahead, David.
anyway,
While you listen to music on your Discman.
Word.
In your
Yeah.
case.
in the first generation, in the first wave of apps that were just stupid, like the freaking beer app and all that crap.
God, those were the
Yeah. So there was an app that was basically a screen unlock that it pretended to be a fingerprint sensor in the screen, and it was meant to just blow your friends' minds, but you would actually like double tap on the corner before you did it to make it actually work. So
I
you would
apologize that you went through that, man.
So that's how you're able to like trick people into thinking like, oh my gosh, there's a vibrator in the screen, and so then everyone was like, oh my god, but now it's
Yes.
actually here. It's like
Yes.
it's insane. Like seeing that tech as like a kid and being like,
This is actually an app where you just like double tap the side of the screen and then.
yeah.
And it only took 2 years. I mean, ever since you were.
David Imel's young. And on that note, that's it for now. The Weekly is just as much a conversation as it is a show, so make sure you make your voices heard either in the comment sections or by emailing us at podcast@pocketnow.com. You can also tag the cast on Twitter with the hashtag PNWeekly. I think I'm going to let you guys give your shout-outs, do your Twitter, do your Instagram, your YouTubes, go for it. Okay, not Michael, David first.
It is 3:30 in the morning. I'm sorry.
It is. I mean, no, totally fine. And thank you so much for being on the show, guys.
Oh my
Seriously.
God. Thank you for having me.
David, go ahead and do your shouts.
Well, if you want to find me on YouTube, I actually have a YouTube channel now.
Ooh.
It has no videos. However, go to youtube.com/David Imel because I was able to register the domain. If
Good
you
for you.
want 50% off your own domain, you can go to Squares. No. But eventually I will be doing
God, this guy
sponsor
needs
spots.
alcohol more often, man.
Anyway, Twitter.com/DervidML because it's the only handle that is not my name. But everywhere else on the internet, I am just my name. So that's David IMEL.
All right, awesome. David Cogen over here.
I'm at the unlocker. Unlock the letter R because when I made it 11 years ago, Flickr was cool and there was no E in that, and I copied it, and then I can't change it now because it's been 11 years. But yeah, any of the socials, the things, the YouTubes, the website even is all that, just .coms or YouTube / the things. That's about it for me. Josh?
Michael first. We're going with our
Okay.
guest.
All right. You can find me at the Mr. Mobile, TheMrMobile. I am on Instagram and also YouTube and Facebook as well. But don't. No, I have a Facebook page and it's really lovely. But probably don't buy a Facebook portal. Do we all agree?
Yeah. Yeah.
You'll
Do you have to tell a story about mine?
your
By your
Facebook
what?
portal.
About my handles?
No, I mean,
Jaime_Rivera, because Jaime Rivera wasn't available. That one is on Instagram. And then I got this guy from just wrote me, and he's like, I could give you like the Jaime Rivera Twitter handle. It's mine, but you'd have to give me the Instagram one. And I'm like, what?
Oh, a swap. A clean
No,
swap.
that's-
That wasn't
No,
a
that
clean
ain't-
swap. That was
that
a
ain't
dirty
worth it.
swap.
Yeah, amen.
Like, how dare you?
Yeah.
That's me.
Instagram,
Well-
good times, right?
Yeah, there you go. Well, I mean, I'm found at youtube.com/Joshua Vergara. If you want to see my perspectives on all the same tech that we cover here on Pocketnow and, of course, on the Pocketnow Weekly. As far as my social media is concerned, you can find me at JVTechT. You know me by now. I'm JV, and I love tech. I love to drink tea. Pocketnow is at Pocketnow on Twitter, Facebook, Google+, and YouTube in English and Espanol, where you can find more news on the Pocketnow Daily and Pocketnow Audario every weekday. We're also on Pocketnow.com for all your mobile tech needs. We would love your feedback through Google, Apple, Stitcher, Pocket Cast, or wherever you happen to be streaming us, because without you, we wouldn't have been able to make this show for your eyes and ears for 328 episodes straight, including ones like this where we have these awesome guests at 3:30 in the morning. You guys are honestly the best.
You the best, buddy.
Thanks, man. And with that, we're going to go ahead and call it on this edition of the Weekly. Thanks to everyone here for dropping by, our regular crew, including a returning Taylor Martin. We'll be back again next week.
Yeah.